and welcome to Isra-Drama, the event showcasing Israeli theater's most prominent voices in a special online edition. I'm Shifra Kornfeld, broadcasting from Shalom Tower Library. This project was produced by the Hanoch Levin Institute of Israeli Drama with the support of the Ministries of Culture and Sport and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in conjunction with the municipality of Tel Aviv Jaffa. Today, we will hear from some of the creators whose work is included in this year's program. All shows are available for online viewing by registering on the festival's website. This program offers a glimpse into the future, a global take on some of humanity's burning issues, from the loneliness epidemic in modern society and the breakdown of the traditional family structure to the crisis of democracy, geopolitical wars, climate change, and AI technology, all of which compels us to wonder, where is humanity heading, and how is all of this reflected in the theater being created in Israel today? Hello to Tamar Keenan.
Hi.
Director of What Happened to the World, a question I ask myself 1,000 times a day.
Yes.
Tell us about the play.
Okay, so the play is set on the last day of a Shiva, on the family's mother who passed away. And we find the two children, the son and the daughter, the husband, and also the ex-daughter-in-law. And they all try to piece together a story from the last year of the mother's life. And the story is actually how she tried with really all her might to save her son's marriage. We know already that she died, and we know that she didn't succeed because they're divorced. But every person from the family has another piece of the story, and they discover things about the mother. None of them have imagined to what lengths she would go in order to save the marriage. She's going very far. And it's a ceremony of, it's like sitting in front of the fire and seeing her again. She's like the main character in this play, and she comes to life. And, well, that's the story.
Let's see the infamous monologue.
זה שיש לי אישה וילד, זה לא אומר שאני צריך לוותר על הזכות שלי להתרגש ממשהו בחיים האלה.
להתרגש? מה קרה לעולם הזה? אתה יודע ממה אנחנו התרגשנו, דורצ'וק? התרגשנו שנולדתם. התרגשנו שבנינו משק, שהקמנו משפחה. אתה חושב שפחדנו שאנחנו מפסידים דברים אחרים? פחדנו שיקרה לכם משהו, פחדנו שלא נוכל לעזור. אמרנו תודה שאנחנו יכולים לעבוד קשה כדי שאם מישהו יצטרך פעם, חס ושלום משהו, אז שיהיה לנו לתת. אבל לא יודעת, אולי אני באמת כבר לא מבינה כלום.
So your production uses the form of family comedy, a relatively traditional genre, to discuss the not-so-traditional subject of polyamory and new relationships. Did you find this conflict productive for the creative work?
It was very productive. First of all, I would rather call it timeless than traditional, because when you put in one home 40-something-year-old children with their father, and they're back in their childhood home, everybody takes back their parts from like teenage. And I find it, first of all, it's very funny. And second of all, the gap between everything that happens between a family, the relationships, and the story that they tell. In fact, the son and his ex-wife, they tried an open marriage. They call it an enabling relationship. It's not open, it's enabling.
Of course.
If you try other words, it works differently, and it didn't work. And I think the gap that we're talking about, the generational gap, the monologue talks about it. The fact that the parents were they're baby boomers and the kids who are Gen X, they view the world in a very different way. I think the parents, they think collectively. They think as a collective. And the younger generation they think they have an individual thought, and we have another generation in the play. We also have a representative of the, like, I think, late millennial or even Generation Z, who's really, like, they're like fluid, and they view the world completely differently. And I think it creates comedy, and it enables us to understand the gaps much, much better.
Do you think comedy has social power?
I think that if there is one genre that has social power, it has to be comedy, because comedy reveals truth. I think comedy is the only genre where you can really undress the reality and face it and not be afraid. And the fact that I love comedy, I do a lot of comedies, and I love it because it enables me to tell things that I couldn't tell otherwise. So for me, it's the only genre that has a chance of making any social change, I hope.
Tamar, Keenan, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
What will tomorrow bring? There were times, even decades, when this question held the scent of promise. However, the past decade has dramatically changed our thoughts about the future. Artists and academics are among the groups working hard to understand what lies ahead. I'm joined here today by the Israeli director and former artistic director of Habima National Theater, Ilan Ronen, director of the show Re-Evolution in Gesher Theater.
Right.
And Tzvi Sahar, artistic director of Itim Ensemble and the director of Step, Scenes from the History of Humankind.
Shalom.
And the director of Miklat 209 and former head of the School of Visual Theater, Guy Gutman. And Dr. Carmel Weissman, digital culture researcher at Tel Aviv University. Carmel, your research deals with the future. Why do you think so many artists are drawn to your field?
I think it's inevitable, because in the past there was just one genre that dealt with the future, science fiction, but now it seems that we caught up with science fiction, and so it's part of the present, so they have to deal with it.
Is there reason to fear the future? You mentioned science fiction. It always seems to be dystopic and, dark and scary. Is that where we're headed?
Actually, dystopia and utopia go hand in hand usually. Both our greatest fears and our biggest hopes are tied to technology and science and the future. But I think what perhaps those shows highlight, both Step and Re-Evolution and Yuval Noah Harari's books, are showing us how it really depends on us, what we want, and we're not sure we know what we want. This is a message that Step has highlighted very much, and it's a dangerous force to not know exactly what you want. And I would add that usually we want two things at the same time. We create technologies in order to manage us and help us make life easier, but then we get scared that we lose control over them and they overmanage us. And I think this tension has shown very much in Re-Evolution. Everything around us is so smart, save for us. So I think if there would be such a debate as a humanity, I don't know what kind of institution can foster such a debate, we have to choose, because we can't have it both ways, control and be controlled. And so that would depend. That's why my answer is complicated. If there's a reason to fear the future, depends on us, I guess.
Yeah, and depends on us maybe taking responsibility and having the conversation. Ilan, you and Tzvi have both created shows based on the nonfiction bestsellers of Yuval Noah Harari, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and Sapiens. Both are highly acclaimed books with a shared mission, explaining our state as a species. Now, 21 Lessons attempts to decipher the future, while Sapiens does that by exploring the past. What initially attracted you to the work?
I think we are going through an amazing international revolution. It's not something only that happens here. And it's revolution and evolution. which means sapiens is going to change. I mean, we are going to become something else. We are already somehow. We have this mobile phone that is running our life, and we have a different kind of artificial intelligence kind of equipment that are talking to us already and support us and give us some suggestion how to live, to make our life better, and etc., etc. So it's already quite theatrical anyway, but it's very, I mean, from the point of view of the writers, the feeling is that they are going to really change as human beings, to become something which is something between human being and some robot kind of, because we are so much dependent on them. On one hand, they might become very important in the future life. Maybe we won't have any work to do because they will do most of the work. So we are going to another kind of big change. This production also is looking at it in a way of looking to make it like an absurd. There is a lot of black humor in the project, describing how in 3 different stories how people are going to deal with this or dealing.
לנה ורנה פוקס. נכון, לנה ורנה פוקס. כבר יש לכם תאריך ללידה?
כן, אני רוצה ללדת שנה הבאה.
מצוין, 2044.
באביב, מרץ או אפריל.
מצוין, זה נותן לנו מספיק זמן, נהדר. זה יהיה הילד הראשון שלכם?
כן.
לא.
לא, סליחה. מה? כבר יש לנו ילדה אחת.
נהדר.
נינה. בת 6.
טבעית. טבעית, אוקיי.
כן, אז עכשיו זאת בעצם תהיה הפעם הראשונה שלנו עם ההתערבות. עריכה.
אופטימיזציה. אני מאוד שמח שהחלטתם לתת לילד השני שלכם התחלה טובה יותר, זה נפלא.
כן, לא החלטנו, החליטו בשבילנו.
אל תתחיל עם זה.
אז אתם מנועי התרבות.
לא מנועי התרבות, דוקטור. בוא נאמר שאף חברת ביטוח לא מסכימה לחסות את הגנים שלנו.
Zvi, what was the process of creating a drama from a non-fiction book?
It started when I think you need to like observe yourself when you read a book and kind of like understand what's the drama in you when you read it. And when I was reading *Sapiens*, I think I kind of had this feeling of too much.
Like overwhelmed.
It's overwhelmed, like a conjunction in the nose. And it starts with like some like poetic story about this Homo sapiens, you know, going, picking some stuff, some fruits. And then there is more people, more equipment, more and more. And more food, more security, more time. And that kind of like led to the dramaturgic of the show. So kind of like a show that starts slowly and poetic, and like the BPM just gets higher and higher and higher. So I think when you feel the rhythm of the book, what the book makes you to feel, that's something you need to translate to the performance.
Which is also the rhythm of humanity,
Exactly,
evolving
yes.
and
It's
wanting
faster
more.
And faster and better and bigger, and that's what happens in the show. So we start with like this one skeleton moving very slowly, and then we get like thousands of little Homo sapiens, you know, spread, conquering all the stage.
אז איך בעצם הפכנו להיות המין החזק בעולם? במשך מרבית שנות קיומנו, התפקיד שלנו במערכת האקולוגית היה דומה לתפקידן של חיות אחרות. והרגלי האכילה שלנו, טכניקות החיזור שלנו והמשחקים שלנו עוצבו על ידי אינסטינקטים ביולוגיים כמו כל חיה. אכלנו כמו כל חיה, ישנו כמו כל חיה, והתעוררנו כמו כל חיה. ברחנו, רדפנו, תקפנו, הגענו, שיחקנו, נחנו, הזדווגנו, הזדקנו, חלינו ומתנו במשך דורות אין קץ. היינו חיה אחת מיני רבות. ושום דבר לא הצביע על כך שאנחנו עומדים להשתלט על העולם.
You created a performance, Because the Night. It's a theater piece that's more like a dark train ride in an amusement park than regular theater works. How did this come to be?
So this started in another crisis, in fact.
Crisis is good for theater.
Absolutely. Because I had this thematic of the night. I had this desire to dive into something dark. And it was very abstract. And when I was speaking to my team and my partner, we had this metaphor. It's like a dark ride. We used to say, it's like a dark ride. So it's a show, imagine, and we used to watch all these dark rides on YouTube. And it was something that we thought of like inspiration. And then COVID happened, and we were all shut down. And it just came to me that this is what we should do. It shouldn't be a metaphor. It should be a real dark ride. And we should rethink how we experience theater in face of what happened, that we need to create a new experience, and that experience has to be extremely engaging and extremely disarming in the way that it's not a conceptual piece. It's something that you experience, it's something that affects you, it's something that you become part of, and it's somehow, there's no judgment in that piece. I think you get absorbed, and that's the kind of, the way we can overcome certain fears, certain emotions, certain things that we have experienced during that period.
So how do you envision the future of theater through times of crisis?
I think this is the big question for all of us at the moment. It's somehow impossible and yet necessary. I think we wake up every day looking for ways to re-engage and to find forms in which we can exist as artists, as theater makers, as people. I think one of the things I think about a lot is a sense of a modest approach to theater making at the moment, in a way to rethink of simple forms that can somehow allow a lot of space for things to emerge, because we are not just reflecting on a crisis, we are living that crisis at the moment. And yet we need to somehow engage. We cannot stay outside of it, I think.
I feel like the question looming over this entire panel is, what does it mean to be human in this stage of evolution?
Well, it's interesting that in the shows, there's this assumption that technology and humanity are two different things, and we're exploring their relationships. But in philosophy, we tend to think of the human as a creature that is already a symbiotic species with technology from the beginning. It's not even the crops, the wheat, as Yuval Noah Harari has argued, that was our first connection. We can go back to the fire or even to the first stone, where what it means to be human was always a monkey plus technology in a way. And so it's not surprising that now we try to go beyond this, and we're dreaming about uploading ourselves to the cloud, and maybe technology getting closer to the body and trying to connect even further, merge with this technology that is part of us from the beginning. But I think what should be cautious, we should be cautious about, and it's something more new than this history that I was foretelling, is the fact that we're trying to control our evolution. And perhaps evolution is not something that we can control. It's not something that we know so much about as we think. We've tried to control evolution before. We called it eugenics. And by trying to merge with technology in specific ways and trying to direct the direction of our evolution, I think we might be facing the danger of a second eugenics this way. By trying to do good, by trying to upgrade ourselves and survive, we must recognize that perhaps we don't know how to do evolution, and this is where we should be cautious.
Thank you. My last question is for the directors. International relationships between theater professionals are imperative. How do you see the future of these friendships and partnerships among the ongoing war with Hamas? I know this is a big one, so if you can each just try.
I would like to say that for the last 15 years especially, there was a lot of activity in the theaters and about establishing the international connection, and the Isra-Drama is part of it, and some of the theater, like the Carmel especially, and Gesher, and lately the Habima, really had very specific connection, including some very important festival. We have been also part of an organization which is the Union of the Theaters, and there were a lot of achievement in this part, and I think it's something very important for our DNA, talking about changing DNA or influence. And I'm afraid we are in a situation now that we might lose most of those connections, and we must find ways, hopefully the situation will be better, to create it again, and it has always to be part also of the dialogue which is connected with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We can't avoid it. It's part of, as we now understand, it's part of our problems that we were pushing to the side. And one of the success of those dialogue international was that it was most of them, a lot of them were dealing with this conflict, and I think this is very important.
I agree. I think that shows that I go abroad with, then the more political they are, I think it's kind of like it's kind of an ambassador of us, of what we feel, what we think about it. And I think that the more that it's not just about, that the theater that we create is more, not political in the way of like right and left, but in the way we live, in our state of mind, I think, and I hope that it will make our shows more like that, not just about, beautiful scenery, but also about more powerful and concrete saying, and also raising more questions. And that's something that I think can help our shows and just open the dialogue more.
Yeah, to lean in rather than avoid the difficult questions.
Open the dialogue. I think, we all pay the price of boycotts. And it happens all the time. And sometimes you can't go over there, and you can go to Russia sometimes, and you can go to other places, and these festivals would boycott you if you would perform there. And I wish that would just collapse all the thing, because we are the people that make the connection. We are the people, like the arts are this is the physical thing that makes the connection between different audiences.
First of all, I think it's very painful at the moment. This is my belief, but it's my own personal belief, which is I see artists like journalists and doctors. I see us as people that go beyond just national identities. I see us going beyond geographic and politics. And I think in some sense, there is a community. There's a community of doctors, and there's a community of artists. And I think what we try and do is go beyond and reach something that is very universal, something that touches people in the most subconscious of ways. So I think for me it's a real necessity. This is how I operate inside my own community, and this is how I connect to the community outside of Israel. So this is a moment of, I think it's a challenging moment, but I think it's a moment that we need to ask big questions about that and allow ourselves to stay in our beliefs that artists should be allowed to express things that are beyond what they are expected to express in this particular moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Narkis is the latest work from Binyamin and one of the most unique shows on this year's Isra-Drama program. Blurring the boundaries between the biographical and the imaginary, Yom Tov embarks on a psychedelic journey that starts in a Tel Aviv nightclub and winds up on Mount Olympus. He uses ancient and contemporary archetypes to redefine the common perception of narcissism as self-love that may lead to healing rather than destruction. Let's see a short clip of this show.
Oh, מה נעשה? מה נעשה? קטן שלי, מה נעשה? הכל סוגר עלינו. הכל סוגר עלינו, קטן שלי, הכל סוגר עלינו. זה נורא. ועכשיו, כשביססתי את המקום הנמוך בו אני נמצאת, נראה לי שאין לנו ברירה, קטן שלי, אלא לצאת למסע ולעלות ישירות אל האלים בהר האולימפוס. שמה נתחנן בפני האלים שישיבו תנובה לשדי, כדי שאתה תוכל לגדול, להמשיך לעשות את מה שאני לא הספקתי, להשליך עליך ולחיות דרכך. כי אתה עוד תגדל, קטן שלי. אתה עוד תגדל ותצמיח שריר. אתה עוד תגדל, קטן שלי, ותהיה לגבר בעולם הזה. בעל דעה, כריזמטי, אבל גם מתחשב. חזק, אבל גם רך. אתה תתנסה בהמון דברים, קטן שלי, ויהיו לך המון חלומות גדולים. אתה תהיה למלך, ואני אהיה לאמו של מלך. אבל זכור, יוחנן, זכור את אמא שלך. זכור תמיד מאיפה באת, דע לאן אתה הולך. אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי. זכור תמיד מאיפה באת, דע לאן אתה הולך. אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי. זכור, בכל אשר תלך, בכל אשר תפנה. זכור, מה שלא תהיה, מה שלא תעשה. זכור תמיד מאיפה באת, דע לאן אתה הולך. אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי. זכור תמיד מאיפה באת, דע לאן אתה הולך. אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי, אל תשכח אותי. ומדי פעם תבקש מאמא העברה בנקאית, ואני כמובן אעביר לך, מכיוון שאני מנוהלת על ידי רגשות אשם על כך שלא יכולתי להעניק לך את הדבר הבסיסי ביותר שאם יכולה להעניק לבנה, וכך אשמה תנהל את מערכת יחסים זו. או בקיצור, יוחנן, זה יהיה מאוד דפוק בינינו.
The relationship between the body and medical scientific progress is not easy. We want to believe that science will be able to solve the limitations of the body, but often we encounter disappointment with medical solutions, along with difficulty in dealing with the strict medical establishment. These questions all arise in the show Blueberry, created by Nataly Zukerman and her partner, Tamar Koppel. Hello.
Hi.
Your show is an autobiographical performance that delves into the extensive and grueling process of fertility treatments. Can you tell me why you chose the name Blueberry?
We have been going through fertility treatments for about 7 years now, something like that. And in my first pregnancy, I was obsessed with the stages of the baby that they put on the website.
The different fruit sizes.
Yeah, exactly. So 7 weeks it means that it's in the size of a blueberry. So we decided that our tummy name will be Blueberry. Doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, it will be Blueberry. So
recently we found out that Beyonce's and Jay-Z's daughter, her name is Blue. They called it Blue because her tummy name was Blueberry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have something in common with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
And you have a future name for your future child, because blue is good for a boy or a girl.
Yeah, we can use that, maybe.
We'll see him and we'll decide.
Nataly, many of your works deal with personal materials of body trauma. How do your personal experiences influence your artistic work and the artistic choices you make on the stage?
Well, I make autobiographical work, but I think the focus of my work is my body and the experiences of the body. I did 2 shows before Blueberry, which I have to say was made also with Ilan and Nataly. They directed with us the show, so 4 directors of the show. So the 2 shows before were called The Other Body and Practice Makes Perfect. And I was injured when I was 12. So those performances dealt with my unseen disability, and it was unfolding on stage. And I was really interested in how to bring the disabled body into the stage and how people, society deals with the disabled body. And in Blueberry, it's my way to talk about fertility and fertility issues, miscarriages. I was really concerned about the physicality of the body when it goes through so horrible things like that. For me, it was very traumatic when I had, especially my first miscarriage. And what I decided is that when I was talking about it, it always felt that people don't understand what it means. So I can speak, many, many times, but no one would really understand. So I use a lot of live art and actions and the here and now in the show, and I wanted to use voice work and imagery throughout the show, not necessarily only the story about the miscarriage. So you've got that kind of feeling of the body throughout the show, because I really want people to understand how the body feels and the experiences it has, emotionally and physically.
Toml, you chose to take part in the work. How did this shape your perspective of your experience?
Well, first I'll say, both me and Nataly, we don't see the art, the theater as a
therapeutic.
Therapy. It's not. We do it in our own personal life. We don't solve our problems on stage. And I play myself. Sorry, I play myself. But I'm actually every man that is dealing with those issues. One thing I can say that I took from it is the thing that I broke the silence, because for many years, Unitard said for about 5 or 4 years into the process, we didn't talk about it at all. Our parents didn't know. Close friends didn't know. So only few people knew the story.
We were really ashamed.
Yeah, we were ashamed. We feel guilt. We feel like a failure. That's kind of emotion that you're going through. And once you do a show, that's it. You're out of the closet. Everybody will know. There is a poster with the story. So that's like this is us. This is our story. We not feel ashamed anymore.
Coming out.
Yeah, we're not guilty anymore, and we invite people to our show to hear our story, and it helped me. It helped me in my real life to come out and say, "All right, that's my story," and I'm proud
here
of
we
it.
are now.
Yeah, and not only your story, you chose to bring other women's stories. Can you tell me more about this decision?
Of course. I think, like Tamar was saying before, for me, I'm using my own story, but this is a story of a lot of women. It's not just my story. And on stage, we're actually 7 women and 1 man. And in rehearsal space, we were like, okay, so it's like, can everyone share their miscarriages stories? And the 4 of us had a miscarriage. And it was the most amazing rehearsal, because for an hour, we just spoke about it. And we were not allowed to comment or say anything. We were just telling stories. And it was really, I start crying even now. It was very emotional. So I wanted to bring that conversation to the stage, because I really feel like we're all talking about standing and doing things and making decisions. And I feel like people need to sit more and talk and listen. So it becomes like a political act of empathy to actually sit there and listen And I wanted to create that space also for the audience to bring that conversation to the stage. So that was important to me.
And it works because the audience felt that. I mean, a lot of time after the show, people come to us and they want to share their story because they feel it's a safe space of empathy, it's a safe space of sharing. So they come and tell us about their fertility problems or other medical issues. They feel that's the place to do.
Comfortable with us, yeah.
הייתה לי טבעת הריון שאמור לא להיות הריונות. חשבתי שהכאב שיש לי כאב מחזור. ובאותה תקופה אומרים לשתות הרבה ג'ינג'ר, הרבה קינמון, כי זה מנקה. אבל הכאב כל הלילה לא עבר לי. למחרת נסעתי למינון, שם הרופא נשים בדק אותי. אמר לי, שם יש קצת מים וזה. אפילו בדיקת שתן לא עשה לי. הכאב לא עבר. למחרת נסעתי אני ובעלי לבית חולים אחר, בבדיקה הראשונה שעשו לי, בדיקת שתן. יצא לי 2 קווים. התחיל רופא בודק, רופא הולך. ישבנו אני ובעלי בחוץ, ובעלי שאל אותי, את רוצה ילדים? שאלה קשה לשאול אותה. בעלי דתי. אז אמרתי לו, אם זה ברחם, אז מבורך. היה לי הריון חוץ לרחם, הכניסו אותי לחדר ניתוח, הוציאו לי את החצוצרה הראשונה, שאלו אותנו אם אנחנו צריכים עוד ילדים, הוציאו לי את החצוצרה השנייה, וזה היה לי הריון אחרון.
If you had to imagine the future, where is humanity heading in the context of childbirth? How do you envision the future?
I think life is getting harder as we go along. The world is unstable, not only in Israel, but everywhere. And on one hand, a lot of people trying to have children, wanting to have children, especially in Israel. It's a very, it's part of our religion, it's part of our culture. You know, us having no kids, most of our friends got, in Tel Aviv maybe 2, but in general in Israel, at least 3 kids in a family. But you can see that when I started 7 years ago, women were at their age, in their 40s, single, most of the women. Now you can see quite younger women coming to fertility clinics and wanting to go through IVF process, or not wanting, but need to or have to. And you can see that the medical world, especially in Israel, is very well informed with that, and they obviously, selection of embryos, artificial womb, like you can really see there's a lot of new invention, and it's amazing because obviously we want help, we want to be parents, but it just feels that that comes with a lot of ethical and moral questions. Do we need to bring kids to this world? I don't know, or
it's an industry that makes money in a way.
Yeah.
So a couple like us finance that system for a lot of years. So maybe the system wants to keep us there. Maybe it's good for them.
Yeah, we put that also in the show. Like the show is part of we brought to the stage the clinic's white room. So there's a lot of women on stage coming in, coming out, and the couple is stuck in the middle of those chairs and like rooted to their chairs, can't get out. So it feels like we want to be part of the progress, but then it's quite scary to think of where the world is heading with that.
Yeah. And how do you see the role of art in addressing medical history around the female body?
I don't think we have a choice. Yeah. I think art has to, I can speak for myself. For me, all the work I make is always about the female body because I use my body and I'm female. And I think we are not allowed to say a lot of things. Like we're not allowed to talk about. There's one moment in the show where Shira, one of the actresses, is talking about going to the gynecologist. And
where to put her underwear.
Yeah, where to put her underwear. Which is, like you were laughing, it's immediate, all women in the audience are like starting to laugh. And you could really see the look on the men's face. Everyone is like,
What?
What?
Is that really happening over there? What? We never even thought about it.
Even Tamar didn't know those stories, and he's been with me for so long, going through this process. Like, we've really been together in that sense. So I feel like it's so important. I've got endometriosis. It's a disease, so people don't speak about it, and especially not letting women talk about it.
You weren't allowed to show a pregnant woman on television.
Exactly. So we have this is my chance to let women speak their voice, and I think art must do that. And I know a lot of female, especially independent female artists, do it. I really hope it will go into the mainstream without any manipulation. Like in the film world or the media, it's always the story and the conflict, and then they're using the story to say something. And we didn't want to use our story for anything. We wanted to tell the story because this is the story. There's no conflict between me and Tamar. We just actually got stronger through that experience. This is about us against, well, maybe not against, but in front of the medical world, in front of the health system, and how they cannot really see what we need as people. And a lot of the time, people forget that it's a private story of two individuals, and we want to bring that to life. And also, that's why Tamar is in the show. It's not just about the female body. It's also the men's story, because no one talks about the men's story in this specific, obviously, situation.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for inviting us.
We might never find an answer to our question of what happened to the world. As changes continue to occur and the future becomes present, there is comfort in the shared effort of understanding through art. On this note, I'm Shifra Kornfeld. Thank you for watching.